Hi, this is Lorraine, and I'm doing another video. If you'll give me a second to clear, center, and balance my energy, we'll get started. Okay, so first, I didn't realize how hot it was until I closed the windows because I've had the fan blowing on me. So what I realized is I need to have the windows open, so I may have to edit out some sounds and maybe use this weird filter, which I hate because it makes my voice sounds like I'm in a tunnel, but it filters out all the background noise. So I may have to do that. Also, there was so much information that came in this morning. I was overwhelmed, to say the least. I was completely overwhelmed. But one of the first things that happened when I came out of my room was I'm sitting on the couch and this old lady shows up, and I can't remember what she said exactly because I'd really like to get it right. I wrote it down. She said, they just released me from my cage, and I'm like, oh my God, who is this woman? This is a crazy bleep expletive B. And I was like, oh my God, this woman is whacked out. And she's a little bit like, the Last Airbender, the animated series, Boomy, is that it? That's what she reminded me of, Boomy, in The Last Airbender, the animated series. And I was like, oh my God. And I'm like, seriously, they did. Clearly, they just let her out of a cage. And then just like literally seconds later, maybe not even a minute, I was like, oh my God, that's me. And so I said, I asked the divine, I just posed the question, is that me? Is that the crone? Is that the part of me that's the crone? And it was like, absolutely, yes, absolutely. And she's a part of me that has been kept under wraps. I haven't had access to, and it there is a three-piece or three-part archetype of maiden, mother, and crone, the stages of women through their lives, and this is a part of me that I've always been aware of, but apparently I just recently received access to her wisdom, and I wish I would have pulled the card out. Maybe I'll get the card real quick. So this is the crone, the card, and actually this is a very interesting like medallion, I guess you would say, on this card, and which leads me to believe I need to comment about the medallion, but the crone is I believe in the Hindu religion they call it the Trimurti, the three, the creator, the sustainer, and the destroyer, the three gods that create that archetype. And in Catholicism you have the Trinity, the Father, Son, and the Holy Spirit. We also have the maiden, the mother, and the crone, right? So this seems to be a archetype across cultures, across religions, across the planet. The crone, the witch, the old woman, the sage. The crone has seen it all. Nothing frightens or surprises her. She is the final manifestation in the feminine trifecta of maiden, mother, crone. In her long life, she witnessed endless cycles of death, sex, failure, rebirth, conflict, and regeneration, giving her the ability to rise above the world of duality. She laughs at notions of good or bad, right or wrong, as she has seen the earth churning, smoldering, taking life and giving life. The crone energy accepts everything. The crone energy accepts everything in, devouring beauty and suffering with the same mouth, using their energy to reveal hidden secrets and knowledge. Her energy resides in all of us, though it is feared by most for its power and unconventional relationship with death and the macabre. Awakening the crone is dangerously rich and unapologetically magic. So when in light, the crone represents magic, clairvoyant, psychic, intuitive, wise. So she clearly had been contained for a very long time and was ready to be revealed. And so when I was clearing my energy, she just came in super strong. And I'm going through my usual ritual of what I always do, clear, center, and balance my energy, and asking for help, and speaking and articulating myself in a way that people can hear and understand and relate to. So I'm going through this whole thing, and she just comes in and starts dousing me with fire, and dousing me with water, and dousing me with air and earth. Just like the earth, the planet is just like churning and shifting and changing, and like, so what I see is like earthquakes and volcanoes just like erupting, and then I just see these walls of fire just coming through and just like plowing the road. That's what comes to mind, plowing the road. And then this water just like cleansing, and but also with that same power just like pushing and clearing. And then the wind and the air, just the same energy, the same effect of just pushing, clearing, cleansing. And she's just like, you don't got to worry about that, I got it taken care of. And she's just like plowing the road. I mean, that's the only thing that it just keeps coming to mind. She's just like whoosh, whoosh. I was like, okay. And I, you know, she's seemingly erratic. It seems erratic, but it's not. It's incredibly controlled, and it's incredibly powerful, and it's incredibly intentional. It's very intentional. Everything she's doing is intentional and has purpose and is part of this path that we're on. So she's really been around and strong in my energy field all day. And as she's out, and as she's just kind of looking around and trying to figure out what needs to be done, I feel her energy coming more to settle. It's always been centered, but now it's more settling, because it's almost like uncorking champagne, right? You pop it, and well, if you don't pop it, open it right, it'll explode, right? So it's like that energy, her energy was just released in like this explosion. But after a while, you know, you wait for the bottle to settle, and then you start pouring the glasses, right? So her energy's settled, okay? Her energy's settling. But it's, I'd be lying if I didn't say it was incredibly exciting. I'm just so excited. I'm like, what's going to happen next? You know, that's all I can think of is what's going to happen next. And so as I pulled out this card and I was looking at it, I see this medallion, and it came in last week or the week before, but I didn't talk about it because it didn't feel right. But today, when the crone came in, clearly I meant to talk about the medallion. So this is another card from this the unknown, the wild unknown archetypes cards. And so the medallion is it was something that made me think. So I'm just going to read a piece of it. I'm not going to read the whole thing, but I'm just going to read the part that resonated with me. The passing on of sacred objects is an ancient ritual within families, between lovers, and in tribes across the globe. We gift jewels, treasures, keepsakes, and mementos of all kinds, some of great material value, others that hold emotional resonance, and still others with both. So yet when these gifts are bestowed upon us, it is important to recognize that they may bind us to an unspoken agreement or promise. And so I first pulled this card when I was doing my own personal reading, I guess you would say. And that part about it binding us really resonated. So it got me to start going through my house, my home, going through all my stuff and start clearing out stuff that I'm holding on to that really I shouldn't. Like, why am I holding on to this? I need to let it go. And then I'm just going to say my ex-husband, there's things from my marriage I was holding on to, and I was like, why am I holding on to this? I need to let this go. Some of it I want for my kids, but other things I just don't think I needed that to keep those things. And other things my ex-husband released me of by just taking it, right? Even recently, like things that weren't a big deal, he just took it, and at first I was like kind of miffed, but then I was like, you know what, he's doing me a favor, right? Even though the way he did it was inappropriate, it was what was needed, because I apparently wasn't ready to let it go, so I didn't release it, so he took it. So that's a good thing, right? Don't read into it, and don't let it move you out of center. So all these things I've just been like going through and releasing a whole lot of stuff, physical things. Anything of my emotions I've been working on for decades, things I'm holding on to release. And I'm been very successful at that. I think that is even easier. That's been easier than actually releasing material, tangible things. But also, it made me think about the things I'm holding on to and why I'm holding on to them. And I have things from So I have things that I've had since I was very young that I'm holding on to. And one of those things, three of those things would be this right here. It's a cross. It's a, I want to say Saint Anthony, because there's a little boy on the saint's lap, and normally I associate that with Saint Anthony. And then this has Jesus on one side and then a heart on the other side, and it's Apostleship of Prayer, League of the Sacred Heart. Cease, the heart of Jesus is with me. Sacred Heart of Jesus, thy kingdom come. And then I have this rosary, which I used to pray all the time, and the saint, the medallion with the saint, has a little piece of cloth on the back, and I'm sure it was blessed, and it probably had holy water in it, or was doused with holy water. I think this saint could be Saint Christopher also, but actually no, it's Saint Anthony, and I'll tell you why I know. When I was 11, my appendix ruptured, and I think I was 11, I might have been 10, and they ended up having to do emergency surgery. And it's a really funny story, but I'm not going to tell you the whole story when I went into the operating room. But because my appendix had already ruptured, so they needed to get me under really quick. So anyway, when I woke up in the morning, it was very early morning, like 6 in the morning maybe. It was before breakfast, because they'll wake you up for breakfast in the hospital no matter what. When it's time for breakfast, they wake you up. They don't care what you just went through, what ordeal, they wake you up. And so I had my own room because they didn't want me to get infection or be exposed to any type of infection, because I was so vulnerable at that time. And I woke up and my grandmother was right next to me, my maternal grandmother, my Grandma Camacho. And the second I woke up, I remember to this moment, I was surprised she was there. Nobody else was there. And I said, "Grandma." And she took my hand and she put this cross, this is still the safety pin that it was on when she gave it to me. She gave me this and the rosary that she had been praying by my bed. Closed my hand and kissed me, and then she left. And she had ridden the bus. My grandmother never drove. My grandparents didn't drive. I'm sure she rode the bus all the way across town, across Hayward, to the hospital. And then she left, and she didn't come back the whole time I was in the hospital. I was in the hospital a week. And I've had this ever since. And I'll always have it. And my grandmother, what I found out as an adult after she passes, that she used to pray with these women, the Sacred Heart, the League of the Sacred Heart. She'd go to people's houses and she would pray. And she was a very powerful healer. She did that. I think I talked about it in one of my first videos. She did that through the dogma of religion. That was her vehicle, but today we would call her a healer. And at her funeral, there were, I only know my grandmother as my grandmother. On Sundays after church, we'd go to her house and sit with her, my grandfather, my Uncle Dan, a bunch of my aunts and uncles, and my cousins. And I just thought it was us, right? As a child, you have a very small view of the world. But at her funeral, the church that she used to go to was packed. There's at least 1,000 people there, because all the pews were full, and there was standing room only. There was people all along the walls, and so she's clearly someone who impacted many lives, although I only knew her as my grandmother. So again, I started looking through the things that I was holding on to that I needed to let go of, and the things I was holding on to, and asking myself, why am I holding on to these things? Okay, so this is something that I guess, as in that what I just read to you is an agreement that we made in my childhood between her and I. I used to sit with her when she would pray the rosary when she was little. I still remember I was very young. I was probably 4 years old, and she'd be sitting on the couch praying while Grandpa was watching TV or sports, Uncle Dan and Grandpa. And she'd just pull out a rosary, and I'd go sit next to her, and she would start praying, and then I would sit next to her and move my lips, because she would just pray and she'd be moving her lips as she was praying the beads, but she wouldn't say anything, so I'd just sit next to her and close my eyes and move my lips, and I would look at her and then keep moving my lips and see if she was still going and start moving my lips. And so she taught me, she led by example. She showed me by example what my path and purpose was. My dad also showed me through his actions what my path and purpose was. And so this card kind of made me look back at these things and reevaluate and think about what I'm doing and why I'm doing it and how I got to this place, and what things brought me to this place in the best way possible, what things brought me to this place in a negative way, what negative experiences brought me to this place, and what do I want to hold on to, and what do I need to let go of. And so that's what I'm doing. I'm kind of going through a purging right now, and I think because of that purging, that's why the Crone showed up. I'm kind of opened the Pandora's box. I opened the doorway, the gateway to this higher level wisdom, knowing of myself, my true divine self. And so that's what makes this an individual journey. This is what I'm being asked to do. This is what I'm guided to do, to open up myself to access these higher levels of consciousness, these higher levels of awareness, this higher wisdom. This is what my path is. This is what my path is, my purpose is showing me. My connection to the divine, my connection to the higher self. When I open myself up, I open myself up to divine guidance that shows me what I'm supposed to be doing, how I'm supposed to be doing it, okay? And it's a difficult journey. Like I said, there's a lot of things I've been holding on to for whatever reason that needed to be released. And there's a lot of things that I've held on to that are meant to be held on to. And so I will continue to hold on to those things. But also I acknowledge if those things leave my person, leave my space, the energy from those things that I hold on to is always with me. So I'm okay with letting those things go. If they get lost or damaged or something, I'm okay with letting those things go. I don't feel like I've lost anything if they leave my presence. What that means is I just don't need that physical, tangible thing anymore to access, or to feel like, I don't need to feel like I need that physical, tangible thing to access the symbolism or the whatever it represents, okay? And to be quite honest, it's been in a box, like a little box for decades. I don't pull this out every day and touch it. I don't look at it. I just have it. And so if it did leave, that it just means it's time for it to be gone. The other thing is this past week, when I clear, center and balance my energy, there's a whole process that I go through, but I've been asked to ground myself. So as in this process of grounding, normally I just bring the light through my body, down through the bottom of my feet and out through the bottom of Mother Earth, and I clear out negative energy within me, clear out the negative energy within Mother Earth, drop it down into the universe for divinity, source, whatever you want to call that, divine energy, God, to transmute into love and light, positive, balanced energy, and I cycle it around, okay? I just keep cycling that energy around, okay? And so while I'm doing that, while I was doing that, while I was grounding myself, I kind of modified that clearing that I do. And so what I did was I brought the light down through my crown, and then I just went into the earth, and I kind of created a root between me and Mother Earth to bind us. So I bound myself to Mother Earth. And I still clear out the negative energy and clear, center, and balance my energy. But within that process, I added this rooting of my physical self, my spiritual self, mind, body, and spirit, my whole self in the earth. And when I was doing that, all of a sudden, I kind of saw my arms come up like this, and I just became this crystalline structure, and my whole physical self became this crystalline structure. And I was just in this position, and I was pure crystal, quartz crystal, I guess you could say, a clear crystal. And I was like, wow, that's interesting. And then what I know is that crystal holds, all the crystals, stones, they hold information, okay? And so when I'm seeing this visualization and I'm completely crystalline, and I'm just kind of, I drew this picture, but I don't, I drew this picture in my journal, and I'll do a picture-in-picture, I guess. There's like mountains on one side, when I was drawing it, mountains on one side, sand on the other side, like sand dunes on the other side, and like the elements, I was feeling elements when I was drawing it. But when I was actually seeing the myself become a crystalline structure, the earth looked like earth. It looked like the ocean, the land. It wasn't, earth looks like a marble from outer space, but what I saw was earth more like a globe, but real life. It wasn't like an animated or something made, man-made. It looked like earth, and I was kind of coming out of the top as this crystalline structure, and so what that was telling me is I'm housing information. Like there's information being downloaded and housed within my physical being, structure, DNA. And you could say, okay, so I just said it's being downloaded or housed, but it's not. It's always been there. It's always been there. It's just being accessed. I can access it. I'm getting access to higher level information. And so it was beautiful. It was beautiful when I saw that crystal. It was just so beautiful. That's all I can say. I'm like, wow, look how beautiful I look as this crystalline energy, this crystalline structure. It's static. It's static because it's solid. But so as I say that it's static because it's solid, it tells me that that information is unmoving. That information is, that word that just came to mind is unapologetic, and definitive. It's law. That's what I'm getting. It's law. It's universal law is what we've talked about in previous videos, but this is divine law. This is so divine promise just came to mind, and it's rooted in earth now. Well, it's always been there, but now I have access to it, and now I can enact on it, release it. What's the word I want? Execute. I can execute it. That's what I'm looking for. And so I guess as the crone was coming in, and she's like plowing the road with earth, fire, water, air, she's just like throwing it down, right? I feel like that's where we're at. And so all this information was coming in this morning, and I was like, oh my God, what am I going to do? So I did actually take some notes and write down some stuff. But I will just say, as I was talking about the crystalline, universal law, divine law being executed, I went straight to a friend of mine who I know. I've talked about this before. I have a friend. I don't know if he knows it, but he was. I don't know where to start because there's so much. This information is so vast and it's all interconnected, and really I'm like, where's the beginning? There is no beginning. There really is no beginning. So I'll try to talk about it in a way that is accessible. Because clearly it has to be said. Not only did it come to me, actually some of it came to me over the week, but some just came this morning, and clearly it needs to be said. So I've talked about this before. I have a friend, and when I first met him, I got information. He's a veteran, and just so much weight. But once he opened the door and allowed me into his energetic field, then it was like over the last couple years I just keep getting more information. So I'll just say that this divine energy does not allow me or anybody else to have access to things that you or anybody else is not ready to reveal. So it's not and I don't look for information. I don't ask for information. It just comes to me. But this friend of mine was actually verbalized that he was worried of what I might see. And so I even said to him, I will not have access to anything that you are not ready to reveal. And your higher self protects you from that. But that being said, over the years, I've just learned more. I just get little bits, because every time I get more information, it's so overwhelming. It's almost debilitating. It's super emotional, a lot of tears. And so he used to live here in Seattle. He doesn't live here in Seattle anymore. And when he left, like within a week or two after he left, I had this vision. And it's this, I'll do a picture-in-picture, okay? What it was he was in the center of a ball. And so when I drew this, I kind of thought of the Vitruvian Man, but really that's not what I saw. I saw him just standing in the middle of this sphere. And then I saw all these like ribbons around the sphere, and they were spinning. So it was almost like a gyroscope, a gyro. You know what I'm talking about. And it was just had all these like ribbons. They looked like ribbons around him, and they just were. There were so many I couldn't count them. They were like infinite number of these ribbons going around him. And when I saw that, I realized those were all timelines. And those were all timelines that he was on. And before I had that vision, I had this understanding that he's actually part of the secret space program. He was one of their soldiers, and he is unique. He is unique. He's unique like I'm unique. His DNA is unique. His consciousness is unique. And what So when they talk about the secret space program, they talk about you going forward in time. Like, okay, you go forward 20 years and then they age regress you back to whatever, and then you go back to your normal life, right? Well, this person I'm talking about, he is unique on many levels. And what they realize is that he could go back in time, go forward in time. He could, his DNA, what his DNA could tolerate was unique, not like anybody else. And he has gone back in time from his inception as he goes into the secret space program. They send him back in time. He goes back in time. And he's done that many times. Many. And there are probably lifetimes where he goes forward in time in the secret space program and then is brought back. But I know I've watched or read, and they're like, you're only supposed to do it once. Oh, I realized that I've gone back like multiple times. And there's all this trauma involved, right? Because of your experiences, and then they can't erase the memories. So what they have to do is compartmentalize them in your brain. And whatever they do, whatever drugs or hypnotherapy or whatever tools they utilize to do that, even though they put it back in your subconscious, your higher self, you are aware of it someplace in your body, okay? Even though you're not recalling the memories, you have those memories reside within your mind, and they reside within your body, they reside within your DNA. So this person has traveled forward and backward through time so many times that it is, I guess, first amazing, but also unconscionable that anybody would do that to another human being. So basically, because they can, they did. And because he's amazing, he is an enigma. They pretty much took advantage of him. And because this negative cabal energy thinks they own us as property and they can do whatever they want. And they have. But I know this about this person, that they've been through this, right? But I don't talk about it, I carry it. And it's very difficult to carry because all I want to do is heal and help, but sometimes people aren't ready for this information. And so what I realized, and so I'm going to do a quick thing. There's so much information that came in that I didn't feel I should talk about, that I've had and I've known for years now. And I don't talk about it because it made me feel uncomfortable. I didn't want people to watch and say, oh my God, she's crazy. But now I'm in this place of understanding and being confident in my path and purpose. I've always known my path and purpose. To accept it and walk it with confidence is a whole other thing. But that's where I am now. I can accept it and walk it with confidence. So what I realized over time is that this person who can go back and forward and travel through time and can tolerate it, and his consciousness is such that he can tolerate in his physical form, in his physical human body, he can tolerate carrying the memories even if they're in his subconscious. And that makes him powerful in a way that most people couldn't even comprehend. But what I realized is, when I was a kid growing up, from the time I was very, very small, almost a toddler, I think, and I can't believe I have these memories, but I do. But I remember looking at the window in my bedroom, and I would see someone, and I didn't see anybody. I could feel them. And there's a shadow of the tree in our backyard that used to create on my window when I was going to sleep, and I would see that shadow, and I would know there was someone there. Even though that shadow was not a person, I knew there was someone there. They were always standing just outside my window. And what I realized over in the last year and a half, is that person standing outside my window was this person who is moving forward and back in time. And so through the Secret Space program, he would go back in time and he would watch over me. And he was always outside my window. And he's not allowed to intervene with anything that's happening. But that wasn't... that was like, wow, okay, that's kind of cool. Somebody was watching over me. But what was really hard and very upsetting for me was that if he was outside my window, or he was with me throughout my whole childhood, growing up and into my teens, that means that he witnessed the traumas that I experienced as a child and as a teen. And I said, and how did that affect him not being able to intervene? How did that affect him having to watch what I went through and not be able to stop it? And so that was very emotional for me. And so I was able to briefly discuss this, not the whole thing, but discuss this with this person. And all he would say to me is that I have memories I shouldn't have. And I think there was some sense of relief that somebody knew and he didn't say anything. But there was also a bit of anxiety just saying that, just to validate me. I think there was anxiety for him to say that. But it was super emotional for me to bring it up, because I was concerned about triggers, okay? So I'd never talk about these things because I'm afraid of making people vulnerable. But at this time, I said, if I feel it in my body when I'm doing the video, I'm going to talk about it, because that means that it's time for it to come out. So I didn't feel any discord in my body, and I felt like it was time for it to come out. But if you think about it, that crystalline structure protruding from the earth, that was me holding the information and ready to execute divine law, unity. Clearly, if there's ever a time to talk about this, it is now. So the other thing I'll talk about is I was accessing the void, and also, so all this stuff's coming in right now, sorry. And as I'm accessing the void, I start getting some more information. So I keep on seeing spider webs. Spider webs, huge, you know, they're everywhere. And I actually, so as I say that, I woke up in the middle of the night one night, and there was a spider right above my head. He was huge. His body was about the size of my head, and then the legs were coming out off of it about another 18 inches or so. And as I woke up, this was a physical manifestation right in front of me. It went up to the ceiling, it retracted up to the ceiling, and then like a crab, it moved to one corner of the ceiling and then moved to the other corner of the ceiling and then went up through the ceiling. But it was afraid, and it was trying to get away. And as I say that, I was watching a Cosmic Disclosure with and Michael Jaco was talking about a planet with spiders that chose to go the negative way, and he's like, I don't know why does anybody choose that direction? We don't know, it's not for us to say, but he did mention, yeah, I don't know why, but there's this planet with these arachnids that were. So I wasn't afraid of the spider. It was just right there. This happens so often that I just don't respond to it anymore. I don't react in a positive or negative way. It's more like, oh, okay. And so I do feel this was a negative energy, but I have protective fields. Now, this happened over 6 months ago. This happened sometime, I would say maybe between now and sometime in the beginning of the year, let's say that. But I do feel it was a negative energy. I do feel it was in my space for something, but I do feel I was awakened for a reason and it left, okay? But spiders and webs are very profound spirit totems, and so I don't associate them with negativity. I'm not afraid of spiders in any way. I think webs are intricate and beautiful. And so as I think about webs and spiders, and this energy of these men in the special forces came in. And actually oh my God, there's so much, I'm so sorry, there's so much information coming in right now. Okay, so I was talking about Seafair. I did a video where I was at Seafair, and I said when I was watching the Blue Angels fly, that all of a sudden I started tapping into someone's PTSD, and I could hear him saying, they're all dead, they're all dead, and then he was running. He was in full sprint running, and I could feel he knew if they caught him, he'd be dead too, and he had to get the information to whoever he needed to, whoever he was supposed to get the information to. And he was in a full-on sprint. He was not stopping. He would drop dead from exhaustion before he stopped, and he just was flat out running. And so this morning it came to me who this person was. Then in the last few days, it's been coming to me when these men in the special forces go out on their missions or whatever you call them. Every time they go out in small groups, right? Small units. Every time they go out and come back, and all of them come back successfully, that group becomes tighter. Every time they go out and come back successfully and everybody's intact, they become more and more tight as friends, as comrades, as family. The love between these men is profound, and the unit becomes more effective. Okay? And that came in super strong. So the longer they're together, the harder it becomes to lose someone. Okay? And then this thing about love, like this intense love, there is an intense love that I can't even articulate between these men. And everybody associates love with sex, But love isn't only about sex. You can love something for that thing, for being what it is. You don't have to, there doesn't have to be sex involved. You don't have to desire them, okay? And so these men can love each other with the same depth, with the depth and breadth that they love their parents, they love their spouse, they love their children, without there being anything weird or awkward. I think it's been so, like, people over generations have always associate love and sex, and it's not that. There is love for love, agape. You can love something for that thing as it is, because it's beautiful and it's meaningful and it's true and it's sincere and it's authentic. You can love something for what it is and not covet it and not have to possess it in a way, in a physical way, in a sexual way, in any way. It's the most purest kind of love, is to love that thing for what it is and allow it to be what it is. And I think that's what these men have, is an intense love for one another, and respect, and an honoring, and integrity, in honesty, sincerity, truthfulness, and trust. They trust each other with their lives. And that is what they're here to show us again, because we've lost all of those things. We have lost that integrity. We have lost the sincerity. People are so about separation and about me. What can you do for me? What do you offer me? If you don't have anything to offer me, then you have no value in my life, right? They can't love and appreciate something for what it is and allow it to be that. And I feel like at the root, if you peel away the trauma, at the root of who you are is profound and meaningful and needed on this world. And I say that because I need to preface this web, this idea of the web. So what I kept seeing is, first I saw the men going out and coming back, and the bonds solidifying, just becoming so strong, like they can't be torn apart, which is why they have to traumatize you. All right, they have to traumatize you to tear you apart, because what you do as a unit together creates bonds that are unbreakable. Okay. And so what I saw was these men going out and back and out and back and getting closer and tighter, and then they created this web, this connection. And I saw from the movie Drop Zone, it's an old movie, now it's an old movie, but they have these, it's a skydiving, there's skydiving in the movie. And they all jump out of the plane, and then they start creating these configurations with bodies flying out of the sky. And it kind of looks like, so I drew this one right here, and I'll do a picture-in-picture. It's kind of like that web of people. They're all holding each other, and they're dropping, and so they do these aerial aerobics, I guess you could say, or aerial designs, so that you can see from the ground. And it looks like all these people are interconnected. And so that's what I saw, is this interconnection of people, of humanity. But at the center are these four men. So it just started with four men, north, south, east, west, fire, water, air, earth, right? All those archetypes, paradigms, structures, foundations of earth, represented by these four men. And then there are more men that attach to them, and they're the root of this beginning of interconnectedness. Okay? You're the root. You're the beginning. You're the example of what it means to be loyal, faithful, trustworthy, carry yourself with integrity and steadfastness, to commit to something and follow it through for something greater than yourself. It's not about you when you're in the military and you're doing all this stuff. It was never about you. It was about something or someone else, always. And you were always willing to go out and sacrifice yourself to fulfill your obligation, commitment to the military and your country, and then the mission, right? That is what we need, what you're here to inspire in others, because we are so lost, we are so fragmented, we are so broken and scattered and separate. But when you work together, you are tight. You are tight. And you are unbreakable. Okay? There can't be ego. There's no ego involved. There's ego in the sense of, I know I'm well trained, I know I'm unstoppable, I know I can do this, because there's a certain amount of ego that has to be associated or aligned with confidence to help you be successful. But it's not ego that is oppressive of others. Okay, it's ego that allows you to do what you need to do in the moment and be successful. Okay, so I feel like I need to kind of pull that out a little bit. But at the root, there is an incredible amount of integrity. If you look at you as individuals and as a group working together to accomplish something, regardless of what that thing was, okay? Because I know somebody might be able to say, well, they were well, everybody's got opinions. I don't even want to go into it. But at the root of what you were doing, you were committed to one another, and you knew what you had to do, and you did it, and you executed it to the best of your ability, and you always came back, right? Mostly successful. And so that is a huge part, just you being you and leading by example or living by example is a huge part of your path and purpose. And as you release the trauma and as you recenter yourself, you become more effective in that. But that came in super, super strong. That close-knittedness, that unit working as a group and being unbreakable, those bonds being unbreakable, the success every time you go out and come back, that you become more successful, more solidified in your commitment to one another, and the bonds become even more stronger. And then the love, that intense love that you have for one another, respect and honoring of one another, that is profound. Okay? Okay, and so the other thing, if you look at this, this right here, it kind of looks like the center of that. So if you, I see you noted tadpoles to the egg. I had put a note, tadpoles to the egg down here. And as I was looking at tadpoles, sperm. Sperm to the egg, sorry. But I did write tadpoles. So when I was seeing the skydiving, I saw that void in the middle. So the four in the on either side and the void in the middle. And then I saw it as the egg and all the sperm going towards the egg, right? To fertilize the egg. And then I was sitting in the void and I got this really strong message. Let's see. I'm just going to read this. So the void, to enter the void, to know that there is no energy, there is nothing outside the awareness that I exist. Everything is a product of the awareness that I am. It is nothing. For if I move away from the idea of I, then everything ceases to exist. When reconnecting with this idea of I, a reality forms. To walk through the doorway is to connect and know unity. No separation, becomes aware and choose unification. No separation, become aware and choose unification. So here on this world, we get to know what separation is. We awaken and then choose unification, which is what we're going through right now. We have been separated. We know separation. We are now at a place where we become aware of this separation and unity, and choose unity, okay? Or know the idea, because we're all connected regardless if we perceive ourselves as separate. We still are all connected, which is why the negative polarity can affect us and the flow of energy and this world, is because everything's connected, okay? But as we awaken to this, we become aware of the self and our effect on the flow of energy, and we choose unity and balance to affect energy in the best possible way. But in the void, once I enter the void, all things cease to exist. Okay, so that's what that was saying. There is no energy per se. There is no energy until the consciousness of I. So I know I exist. That is pure consciousness at its most balanced place. But the second that I say I am, that I exist, I create a reality based on this perception of what I am, unity, this divine source energy. When it starts to see itself as something other than just pure existence, it starts to form and create reality, okay? And that reality is based on conscious thought, okay? And so this is a reality based on conscious thought or perception of itself, of a reality, of this divine source energy saying I am, I exist, and creating some type of existence, okay? So then I started thinking about, okay, why am I in the void? I'm in the void. I'm thinking I'm in the void, okay? And then I started thinking of, am I in the void alone? How am I in the void? What's in the void? Who's in the void? Who's in the void with me? So then it started to come, there's a process of vetting utilized to allow us into that space of pure consciousness and creation. Even though we all exist on this plane right here, or many planes in this universe, from the lowest dimension to the highest dimension of this reality created by energy, right? And we're fractals of unity. Who is in the void? What is in the void, right? What is the void? What does that mean? And so what came to me, and I've talked about this in other videos, tests, keys, locks, mazes, the labyrinth of life and death is the process that determines intention. Intention allows access. Intention allows access to the void. So we all must, through all these, from this plane of existence, there are tests, there are keys, there are from this plane of existence, there are tests, there are keys, there are codes, there are locks, there are mazes, labyrinths, whatever we have to go through to show our intention. We can't lie to the divine, right? It has access to all information. But there are those who have tried. But there has to be a sense of sincerity in your intention. There has to be sincerity in your intention. There has to be a drive for the greater good. And so whatever your tests are, my tests were different than what your tests or anybody else's tests are, or our endeavors, what we must go through to access this energy, this doorway. Whatever it is, we need to show what our intentions are before we can walk through the doorway. So those who find the doorway and are allowed through it unify. They are one. There is only one. It takes only one. Only one is needed. So these, let's see, this vision I had of the the skydiving and the four men coming together in the center, and that labyrinth, that web, or whatever you want to look at it, building out from there. In another way represented the egg creator energy, the sperm coming to that egg, fertilizing that egg, and the creation of life. That egg represents the void. Creation comes from the void. Creation comes from the darkness, okay? The void, okay? And once that sperm hits that egg, there is a reaction that happens that creates light, okay? And that light is what life comes from. So the source of creation comes from the darkness. The physical manifestation of the life created comes from light, okay? And so what I saw was, as we become aware and we walk through the doorway, we are unified. So all the energies, all the fractals that become aware, walk up to the doorway, they walk into the void, and they become one. There is no separation in the void. That's why when I'm in the void, it's just me alone. It's not me alone. It's me unified with all things, okay? It's me unified with all things, as all things, all things. I am aware that I exist, and I allow myself just to be. It's the most comforting place that I go to. And it is a place that I can't stay for very long, just because I become too far removed from this plane of existence. But it helps bring clarity to my path and purpose. It helps bring clarity to things that happen throughout the day that are positive or negative, so that I can remain balanced, okay? We all have access to this place, but it takes a lot of discipline in order to maintain the necessary energy field and awareness in order to access it, okay? So just one thing I'm just going to mention, I don't watch the news very often. I don't watch the news, but every now and then I get a snippet of something coming in. And what came to me, I think it was last night, was they are trying to call you to arms. They are trying to get you to pick up a gun. They are trying to get you to move into battle, okay? In a place that there should be no more battles, okay? There should be no more war. There should be no more conflict, okay? So what you need to understand is there are no weapons in this war. There are no weapons in this war. Anybody pulling a gun or some type of weapon is not part of the transition. Anybody threatening to do so is not part of the transition, because this is an energetic shift, okay? And by pulling a weapon, you are engaging negative energy. You are empowering negative energy, even if it's for good. Even if you're trying to protect someone or something, you are projecting negative energy. So just know that whatever comes, always remember that your intention must be of the highest, from love, light, balance, and protecting the things you love. There may be incidences where, so as I say that this is an energetic war and not a war of weapons, it just came to me that there may be instances where you may have to protect something in a way that requires a physical confrontation. And so whenever that happens, you always have to drop into your heart and always move forward from that place, okay? Because that energy will protect you as you move into this dark space in order to protect someone with a physical confrontation, whatever that is, okay? Whether it be with a weapon or with your hands, your physical person, you always have to make sure you drop into your heart first, because dropping into your heart will reduce the conflict. Just that action alone will reduce the friction, okay? And it will take less for you to prevail, okay? The other thing is that there are guardians being revealed at this time, and there aren't just, I know Zako is here for humanity, and I'm here for Mother Earth, but there is more than just two people who are here to protect and guide and help transition Mother Earth. So as I say that, I just had a lot of information come in that just said, okay, this is where we stop. This is where we stop. So I'll just say, for me personally, I feel like there's going to be some massive shifting happening between now and the end of the year. I think that would be true for the planet as a whole. I think I was reading, or somewhere I found out that 33 million people were displaced by flooding in Pakistan, and then 100 million in China. And those things cannot be ignored. Those things cannot be overlooked, and they can't be rationalized. And right now, as I'm sitting here, I'm smelling smoke. So, fire. Cleansing. Water cleanses, fire cleanses. And so I would just say, see things from a higher perspective, maintain clear, centered, and balanced energy, and always drive forward from your heart. Okay? Come from a place of goodness, kindness, tolerance. love, respect, humility, and remember that this is a process of releasing the negativity from this world so that we can live from a place of balance. Okay, this is a karmic release. We are all responsible for where we are on this world right now, and so we all endure what it is we are meant to as we move through this transition. But there is a light at the end of the tunnel. There is a beautiful world waiting for us. This is a beautiful world now, as it is. This is a stunningly beautiful world. And when we complete moving through this transition, it's unfathomable what this world will become. It is a jewel in the universe, and it's ours. It's our home. It's our blessing, and it's our gift. All right. Thank you.